since elementary 1. She was good in both studies and sport. Even her personality was outstanding. As I was saying, after becoming a third year she transferred over to the third class, and died after the incident occurred. That sudden death caused her classmates to cry. Even her form teacher stopped speaking and the class felt haunted. Then, someone spoke. Misaki didn't die. Look, she's right there. I've been on somewhat of a psychological binge, recently finishing The Flowers of Evil and starting Boys Abyss. Regardless, these were a while apart from each other and I was going through a bit of an anime burnout. That was before I watched another. With it being one of the more popular anime out there, it was a surprise I hadn't seen it sooner. I'd heard a lot about it and seen Misaki Mei's face more than once whilst perusing the internet. Another is one of those shows that's often disregarded by a fair few people, but perhaps today I can convince you to watch it if you haven't already. The anime that pulled me out of my burnout. The story of someone no one can see. The story of one too many. Another. Another certainly isn't an unknown anime by any means. If you go to any anime-related forum or discussion on social media, you'll see it with relative frequency. Yet this frequency was at such a level that it was just little enough for me to consider it a show that I didn't need to watch immediately. Thus, like many shows, it went into my plan to watch list, with little to no intention of watching it anytime soon. I believe that was a big mistake. Another is an anime that you can enjoy very casually. It's a fun rollercoaster that at points is a story you almost certainly don't need to take seriously. I originally intended to read the manga of Another. After not having consistently watched anime in a while, I wanted the convenience of experiencing the story at my own leisure, and not having to sit down and commit to it. I read its opening 6 pages, and I immediately changed my mind. The opening of Another is particularly captivating. It sets up the premise of the story, a mystery about a girl who died somewhere between 2 and 3 decades ago, called Misaki, a student that was meant to be dead somehow being seen as alive. It's a bizarre mystery, and the anime, novel and manga all start in this same poignant way. We of course move to the present day and are introduced to our main character, Koichi Sakikabara, who is moving back to his hometown, and the stage is set for a second mystery to occur, that mystery being the one of Misaki Mei. This Misaki that we meet has a mystery much the polar opposite of the one we're introduced to at the very beginning. Only one person can see her, that of course being Koichi. To the rest of the world, the girl, Misaki Mei, may as well not exist. While such a setup isn't too abnormal from mystery fiction, it does serve to be a genuinely engaging introduction which left me with many questions going forward. That is the part of Another that kept me watching and engaged the whole time, the mystery element of it. It's quite often a debate of whether Another truly belongs to the horror genre, especially considering everyone's definition of horror isn't quite the same. Another was not a gripping psychological horror to me, just a rather engaging mystery story, but to someone else it could quite equally be a shoddy mystery and a captivating horror. At the core of it, I enjoyed the psychological element much more than the horror. It explores what it means to be truly alone and the human need to be recognised and perceived. Its opening episodes are truly great for presenting this, and particularly the voice acting for Koichi done by Atsushi Abe, and Misaki voiced by Natsumi Takamori, created very engaging performances that enhanced the story and dynamic between a girl who seems almost inhuman and a very humanly average boy struggling to find out what's really happening at his new school. I believe where the reviews are so divided, at least from my own conclusions, is how the story progresses from that point, further away from a mystery in an attempt to shock the viewer. However, I have to disagree with this. Where many saw a vain and hollow attempt at forcing the audience to keep being shocked, to me it rang a true feeling of hopelessness and loneliness that not many other anime have replicated. The mystery in Another is beyond what I'd even begin to label as realistic, its characters and premise beyond what I'd even begin to label as believable, but not every story, particularly psychological, has to conform to what we'd expect of the human mind. By betraying our expectations, it instead gives a thrilling and warped view of characters as opposed to people. When placed in such an unreal and fantastical situation, it's not too much of a stretch for there to be an element of sacrificing believability. By doing so, Another builds an atmosphere of isolation, presented all too well by its use of weather and particularly its composition and music. It's no surprise with the music being done by the same composer as Shadow of the Colossus, a game that brings the idea of isolation I keep harkening back to seep into its world tremendously. Everything about Another is empty, and even when it's playing on tropes we're all familiar with, beach episode, it still manages to maintain that palpable atmosphere the whole time. No matter how many connections we have in life, we're all alone in the end. Another wears its themes on its sleeve like this for the whole time. It's a mystery that's surprisingly not as obtuse as one might expect. It's most certainly not a perfect show by any means, and it's not one on any day I could even begin to label as a masterpiece. It has its fair share of flaws, but I think its qualities aren't stated nearly enough by people. Another is a show that's going to stick around in my head for a while, and for those who haven't watched it, I have a suspicion it might do the same for you. Its dark world, ambient rain and music, the atmosphere of loneliness and its bleak backgrounds, the story of a girl no one can see, the story of one too many. Another.